Cool. So everyone, thank you for joining a 4 p.m. South African time webinar. I know it's a little bit late in the day, and hopefully you can just relax and learn a little bit as we introduce our partners in the US, GCommerce. I think Chris will give you a little bit more, or Kenyon, around what GCommerce, who GCommerce are and what they do and their area of expertise. We have recently partnered with GCommerce in terms of our booking engine and Nebula CRS. Nebula CRS is obviously just the rates and availability component, where they will then call us for rates and availability, and we then, this is obviously primarily for Metasearch, which we'll touch on in a second. Then the integration to our booking engine, which has actually been a very powerful and advantageous integration on our part as well, because we had to update our the Google Analytics from Universal Analytics to their new gtag.js analytics, which it makes it 100 times more efficient and more powerful, which is quite exciting. I'll hand over to Chris and Kenyon in a second. I just wanted to give a brief intro to what Metasearch is. I'm sure over the past few years, many of you have experienced or engaged in either a Metasearch product or you've seen Metasearch within your organization or via one of your booking engine partners or via HDI. Metasearch is essentially the aggregation of availability and rates, pulling various data points from multiple sites and aggregating those on a single platform. There are various platforms out there. So as you can see, I've listed probably the four biggest. Or maybe I've missed one or two. Chris and Kenyon will know better, but Google Hotels, Trivago, Kayak, Skyscanner, those sorts of aggregation platforms that are becoming very big. They're very large companies in themselves. And I think the power there is that they are allowing hotels and booking engine partners such as ourselves to compete at a certain level with the OTAs. There's only one, it's the only real place where you can compete, other than obviously very strong SEO and massive Google ad spend. But in terms of having visibility and a quick win against an OTA, these are the kinds of meta-search sites that allow you to do that with integration to those sites. HDI has a direct integration to Google Hotels, but that's the only meta-search platform we have direct integration to. Hence, we've partnered with GCommerce to enable further integrations into the likes of Trivago, Kayak, Skyscanner. Again, I'm sure Chris will mention any relevant, stronger players in that space. But I think those are the four major ones that we see in this region in particular. So as I've said there, the main objective is to give the consumer a more informed choice. This allows the consumer to see various rates across multiple platforms in one quick view. And obviously the objective from our perspective is to put your booking engine link alongside those in order to give you the ability to compete with the OTAs at that level. This is just a brief example of Google Hotels. I'm sure you've seen. So Google Hotels on the left, that's when you actually click through to a Google Hotels window. And I can just show you a brief example of what HDI does at the bottom, which is not the paid ad section. That's purely your what they've allowed, and I'm not sure how long it's going to last for. They've allowed a free booking link essentially at this present time. It might not last forever. It might eventually also become a paid feature. So your ads at the top, booking.com, hotels.com, those are paid for ads, and that's really where you want to be visible and present. And obviously your rate needs to be competitive, but those are paid for ads, and the ones at the bottom are just what we have at the moment with Google, which is a free booking link essentially. But what Chris and them specialize in is the ability to position yourselves in the paid section, which displays first in most cases, and sometimes the all options doesn't even display the hotel booking link. You need to click through. So the paid ads is really where you want to be. Just on the right hand side, this is just your Google My Business section, which appears in Google when you search for a specific property. So just to elaborate on the GCommerce partnership, as I've mentioned, we came across Chris and Kenyon and the team about 2 years ago. Chris, it's been a while, where we've worked on the integration, and I think just during COVID, Metasearch became even more prevalent and relevant in the space, because now hotels really want to push that direct booking advantage, and the direct booking, the ability to compete with OTAs and try and entice direct bookings. So now we've seen a real push for that. It's become more and more popular. It's been a bit slow in South Africa, I must be honest. The Metasearch movement hasn't quite taken off, but I think it's getting there. It's becoming a little bit more talked about, and certainly a lot more requests are coming our way. Hence, the time is nigh for this sort of webinar. We have spoken to various partners directly, but nothing's really come of it. But I think it's, as I said, it's becoming more prevalent. And with the additional Google Analytics integration, or the revised Google Analytics integration, it's actually improved a lot of the conversion tracking regardless. So it also lends itself now to really pushing ads, pushing campaigns, and tracking those and the customer journey during the process. Okay, so I just would like to then hand over to Kenyon and Chris from GCommerce. They will be discussing a new product. I haven't even seen this product, so I'm quite excited, called Metadesk. It's going to hopefully give us a new and revived perspective on Metasearch. So over to you, Chris. I'm going to just stop sharing.
Thank you, Rory. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Jackson. I'm one of the partners at GCommerce. Just a quick overview of who GCommerce is before I turn it over to Kenyon to walk us through Metasearch and our new product, Metadesk. So GCommerce, we're a full-service digital marketing agency. We work with independent and branded properties around the world. Our primary focus is on maximizing direct bookings at the lowest cost per acquisition. Metasearch, as Rory mentioned, has become, it has been around for a number of years now. I think the pandemic has accelerated consumers utilizing Metasearch to find the best channel to book their holiday vacation or business trip through. We see an opportunity to compete with the OTAs by having hotels have their direct pricing listed on many of these Metasearch platforms. As Rory mentioned, I think another one that was left out on the screen that is a big one is TripAdvisor. And there's a number of Metasearch channels, and depending on where your feeder markets are and your location of your hotel kind of determines which channels are going to produce the best. On average, we see here in the States, and I know it's different a little bit around the world, that an independent hotel sees about 44% of their online bookings originating from the online travel agencies such as Expedia and Booking.com. It's such an opportunity to shift that share to direct, one, to save on commission costs that you're paying the OTAs, but I think just as importantly is to gain the direct booking with the changes that are happening out there in privacy in terms of the third-party cookie. It's really important to capture direct bookings where you are able to capture first-party data and have an opportunity to market to those consumers in the future. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kenyon, and Kenyon's going to walk us through.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Go ahead and share my screen real quickly. Is that looking okay for everybody? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Rory. All right. I'm really excited to share with you some campaign optimization techniques for Metasearch marketing today. And as Rory mentioned, he was excited to get a look into the product. And so throughout this, towards the end of the presentation, we'll have a prompt for anyone on this webinar to book a demo if you'd like to, get a full overview of what Metadesk is and our complete offering. So that'll be there at the end. But before I jump into it, I kind of want to offer a little bit of context. So earlier this year, as kind of part of our development of the Metadesk product, we polled a few thousand hoteliers on a number of topics relating to Metasearch. And we learned a number of things, but one thing that was really surprising is we learned that most hoteliers were completely unaware that you can manage and optimize your Metasearch advertising campaigns in a similar manner that you might with paid search. A lot of the same techniques can apply on Metasearch. And so we put together this presentation to help hoteliers learn about modern techniques for maximizing your Metasearch advertising performance by adapting your Metasearch campaigns to your property's unique needs. So with that, I'm going to jump into it. Again, my name's Kenyon. I'm your presenter today. I'm the product director for Metadesk. There's a picture of me in a time before the mustache. Seems like ages ago. A quick rundown of what we're going to cover today. So first, we're going to cover how to ensure you have optimization capabilities at all. Then we're going to jump into some modern optimization techniques to help you really get a lot of performance out of your campaigns. And like I said, really utilize Metasearch channel to support your property's unique needs. We're going to quickly touch on booking engine landing page best practices. We're going to talk about custom audiences and how you can use those to apply an additional layer of targeting and strategy to your Metasearch advertising campaigns. And then we're going to end it with a Metasearch channels comparison, kind of a rundown of all the channels, the four that Rory mentioned, and then a few others so you kind of understand their place in the broader Metasearch market. But before all that, I kind of want to touch real quickly on why Metasearch at all. So globally, we're seeing a lot of hoteliers shift focus and increase their focus on their Metasearch strategy. This graph here actually shows budgets globally by channel. So this lower portion here is Google AdWords and Bing combined, and this is for hotel campaigns. And this top portion is Trivago, TripAdvisor, and Google Hotel Ads. So you can see back in 2020, it was nearly double in terms of budget, in terms of spend by hoteliers globally. And now, in fact, it is more than double. So we're just seeing a ton of budgets, advertising budgets, move into Metasearch for some time now. So when you see that, you got to ask yourself why that's happening. And we think it's for a few distinct reasons. One not listed here is the consumers really enjoy Metasearch. This example here is Google Hotel Ads. But it's just a great way to search and research a market. You search for a hotel or your needs in a market. You get this grid layout. It's geographical for the city you're going to. You get prices, reviews at your fingertips. So it's really consumer friendly. Your potential guests love searching this way and consider it very convenient. But a big reason hoteliers are really focusing on Metasearch is it's the #1 battleground to compete with OTAs for direct bookings. Within this search, you're not the only, for your property, the OTAs are also there participating and promoting their listing for your hotel. So it's a great place to put your best foot forward and work on strategies and techniques to gain share and direct bookings from OTAs. Now, hoteliers have always wanted to get more direct bookings, reduce their reliance on OTAs for a couple of reasons. One, the commission rate. They'd rather avoid that commission rate, and sometimes it's exorbitant. Two, you'd like to have a direct relationship with your guests for a couple of things. pre-stay communication, post-stay communication, things like that. But at this moment in time, there's an even bigger reason. You may be familiar with cookies and third-party data being deprecated. So a lot of hoteliers are really reliant on those techniques for finding guests, the right type of guests for their property. Those are going away at some time in the near future. So a bridge to a new world is your first-party data. You can use your past guest data to do a lot of similar things you've done in the past with cookies and third-party tracking. So that first-party data is even more valuable than ever. Therefore, direct bookings are more valuable than ever. So we think that's a big reason we see hoteliers focused on Metasearch. And like I said, those budgets just moving en masse into Metasearch channel, away from other channels in some cases. So with that, I want to kick it off and get into some optimization, or a section. I just want to talk about ensuring you have optimization capabilities at all. So most hoteliers participating in Metasearch have a direct connection with their booking engine. And so what that does is publish live rates and inventory to Metasearch channels. A lot of hoteliers think that's the extent of what you can do with Metasearch. Right? Once you're publishing that, once you establish that technical connection, you're done. You have a presence. You're maintaining that presence. They feel like set it and forget it is what they're supposed to do. But that's not the case. And as a matter of fact, Google Hotel Center actually requires a minimum budget per property once you've connected. So no matter what booking engine you're with, if you're using them to list on Google Hotel Center, someone at the booking engine level has to load in a budget for you to participate there. So you got to ask yourself, is anyone managing that? So it'd be a good idea to reach out to your booking engine and kind of explore that, understand what's taking place. Are there opportunities to optimize your campaigns, adjust your bid strategy in support of your property's unique needs, things like that. As mentioned before, HDI has a direct connection with Metadesk. So if you're using HDI's booking engine and would like to explore, Metadesk advertising with Metadesk, or I'm sorry, Metasearch advertising to Metadesk, we'd love to talk with you. Go ahead and visit metadesk.pro. We offer fully managed Metasearch advertising in an easy-to-use platform with no out-of-pocket expense required. So that's the booking engine. But also, we've learned a lot of hotels are using hotel tech companies to run their Metasearch for them. It's very common in the space. But a lot of hoteliers are unfamiliar with what they're doing with their campaigns. They don't really know. A lot of them just get a bill, or they meet once in a while with a point of contact and get a few broad stats. So we put together a few questions you can ask them just to make sure they're utilizing these modern techniques that we're going to touch on today. First is ask them how they're utilizing bid modifiers to support your hotel's unique needs. We're going to touch on bid modifiers in a moment in this presentation, but it's a great question to make sure they're utilizing the tools available to them to really provide value in terms of your Metasearch advertising. You can also ask them which Metasearch channels are producing the most revenue. And really, that's just kind of a gut check to make sure they're looking at this. They're looking at the broader landscape, which channels are performing for you, and potentially making adjustments to focus on channels that perform better than another. Also ask them if they're willing to create custom audiences from your past guest data. That's available through Google Hotel Center. We're going to touch on that a little bit more in this presentation. But it's a great question to ask if they're willing to do that. If they don't have that accounted for within their offering or within their process, then maybe you should talk to them about offering that, or even potentially look at a different alternate provider. Next, we're going to get into some actual optimization techniques available to you via Metasearch. So first, I want to talk about the bid modifiers I mentioned a moment ago. So there's a number of things you can bid on within Metasearch to tailor your approach and your campaign to maximize your campaign performance. The first is device type, and that can be important depending on property, depending on really the type of guests you attract. Some guests are more prone to book on desktop versus mobile, and you can actually adjust your bid there so that you're more prominent on one or another. Length of stay is a big one. It's really valuable in terms of focusing on, let's say, longer stays when your occupancy is high. If you're at a time of year when your occupancy is low, maybe you'll take any stay. You could actually bid higher on 1 or 2 night stays, things like that. Day of week is very valuable. A lot of hotels, it's very common for them to fill up and be okay on the weekends, but need help midweek. So you can actually increase your bid for Monday and Tuesday arrivals in an effort to help you fill those need periods throughout the week. Booking window and days to arrival, that helps you focus on and increase your prominence for a booking window. So let's say you're coming into high season, you're really full. A lot of hoteliers think maybe they should turn off their Metasearch. We actually recommend they increase their bids for 30 days and out. So you can start building a base for that next time period, your next off season by chance, or something like that. Also, default date and user select date. Default date will serve up a popular date within the market. You can bid on that, especially if you're coming into high season, have a number of, let's say, market-wide events coming. You can leave it there, or you can bid higher on user select date. And strategically, different ones make sense for different hotels at different times. We can't bid on specific dates just yet, but we think that's coming down the pike very soon. Eventually, we think that'll be something that you can do within Metasearch. And quick disclaimer, not all bid modifiers are available on every Metasearch channel. That's just important to know. Some offer more capabilities and options than others do. So with these techniques, I want to jump into a couple of use cases so you kind of understand how our team uses these tools. The first one is need periods. So let's say within a given month, you have select dates that you need help on. There's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can increase bids for those dates using the dates to arrival bid modifier. So let's say your need dates are under 30 days. You can bid on, increase your bid for under 30 days. You can also bid on specific days of the week. Let's say your need periods happen to be like on a Monday and a Tuesday. You can increase bid for searches for those days of weeks as an arrival. And since you can't bid on specific dates, what we do here at Metadesk is we continually increase our bids to a shorter booking window time frame. So let's say those need dates are 30 days out, we're bidding on that. The following week, we'll reduce that to like 21 days out, 14 days out, 7 days out, just to make sure we're kind of maximizing our exposure for those need dates in an effort to fill those. We can also reduce bids for default dates and increase bids for user selected dates in an effort to show up higher when they search our need dates in question. So the combined impact of all these measures just kind of ensures your property has max visibility during the time frame. Use case number 2, high season. I mentioned this a moment ago. Let's say you're a summer-centric hotel, you're coming into season. You can actually decrease or eliminate your bids for under 30 days. And like I mentioned earlier, increase your bids for 30 days and farther out. And as an example, you could also increase your bids for like 3-night stays, just trying to build a nice solid base of longer stays for a time period after your high season. And as a disclaimer, I mentioned this, I keep mentioning things that are coming up in the presentation, but keep in mind, not all channels offer, all these bid multipliers. Some will be restricted and just have 1 or 2 available. Google Hotel Ads and TripAdvisor provide the most robust options in the space. So those are some ways to use bid modifiers to really tailor your campaign. Once you've nailed that, you also want to think about booking engine best practices. So we're going to take a look at a quick rundown of what we recommend. So a big component of Metasearch conversion is price accuracy. That's a little different than price parity. Price accuracy is when a user sees a rate listed on a Metasearch channel, they click through all the way to your booking engine and see the same exact rate. That's very important for conversion. As soon as they get there and see different rates and not the number they were expecting, it causes confusion and oftentimes can cause a bounce. There's an old saying, a confused mind does nothing. And we see that happen and have that play out within our conversion percentages when the booking engine, when our price accuracy is off or poor. So some things you can do there is make sure you publish your bar rates to your Metasearch channel, and you can do that within your booking engine. Also, make sure the sort is arranged so you're listing your lowest rates first at the top of your sort. There's a number of ways. It's different. The instructions for doing that are different for every booking engine. So talk to your booking engine representative to understand how to do that in yours. And then this is a big one. A lot of hoteliers kind of miss this, but any public promotions you have running, make sure you channel those to your Metasearch rates and inventory so that a public promotion that you have available in other places is also available via your Metasearch channels. And that's all the time we're going to spend on booking engine best practices. Just a few important points to focus on, but they're impactful in terms of your conversion. All right, now I want to touch on custom audiences. You may be familiar with this technique from paid search campaigns. But first of all, what are they? Custom audiences are lookalike and cohort audiences created using your first-party data from past guests. They're useful in a couple ways. You can use them, number one, to target your past guests, but you can also use them to target travelers who are similar to your past guests, like using that audience to create a business audience or a leisure audience or a family audience. And I should note, this is only available through Google Hotel Ads. Once again, let's jump into a couple of use cases for utilizing custom audiences. The first is you can just target your past guests, like I mentioned. So what you can do in Google Hotel Ads is create a specific campaign comprised of your past guests. And then in Metasearch, there's something called callouts. It's a very short tagline associated with your listing. And you could use that messaging to promote something relevant to past guests. A good example of that is a promotion of your loyalty program or any bounce back offers you may have, things like that. Another use case using your first party data is lookalike audiences. So what we can do is upload your past guest data to Google Hotel Ads and then create audience segments of lookalike. So let's say you're focused on business or leisure or family. We can use your past guest data to build lookalike audiences that meet the same profile as your typical guests. And then we monitor that. We can bid more aggressively on audience segments that are converting better for you or your known demographic targets. That's a great way to use your past guest data. Really, and this touches on kind of your bridge and why it's important to focus on your first party data, because as we mentioned earlier, cookies and third-party tracking is going away. So this is a technique that is similar, which can kind of help you continue to find new guests for your property. And this is a new innovation I want to mention, affinity and in-market audiences. So there are data providers now who are able to take data points from travelers globally, billions of travelers, and create profiles and custom audiences that you can utilize on your campaigns as an additional layer of targeting. So a couple examples are in-market audiences. So travelers that we know have booked travel to your market, we can utilize that as an audience and increase bids to them and kind of increase your property's prominence when they're searching in your market for travel. You can also focus on niche travel segments like adventure or health and wellness. And then typical travel segments that we're familiar with, business, family, leisure. You can kind of use those data points to create audiences to apply to your campaign. So this is another great question to ask your Metasearch provider. See if they're able to utilize affinity audiences within your Metasearch advertising campaign. So next time you meet with them, if you have someone handling these campaigns for you, make sure this is a topic of conversation. Next, we're going to move into a Metasearch channels overview and just kind of do a quick rundown of all the Metasearch channels as we see them. The first is Skyscanner. So a lot of these smaller Metasearch channels, they're niche to certain markets. They might just be popular in a certain country. And so for that reason, if they're popular in a country that is an important feeder market for your property, then it makes sense to focus on that channel. Make sure you're utilizing all the optimization features they offer you. So Skyscanner happens to be popular and gets a lot of usage in Israel, the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands. Another big one is called Wego. They're very big in Pacific Asia. So if Pacific Asia is a major feeder market for you, you may want to explore what you can do on Wego and really focus on your presence there. Trivago, same thing, very popular, gets a lot of usage in Turkey, Japan, the Netherlands, Malaysia, and Italy. Kayak, same thing, it's popular in Puerto Rico, France, Costa Rica, and Colombia. Bing is still out there and offers a Metasearch channel. Bing has great performance in terms of conversion, but it just has low volume. You and I both know not a lot of people use Bing. They only capture a small fraction of the impression share that Google receives, for example. But again, it converts really well, so it makes sense to be there. Make sure you have a presence when you're applying these optimization techniques we talked about today. TripAdvisor is number 2 to Google for impression volume for Metasearch advertising. And furthermore, it can be a really great branding tool for destinations or activity-centric markets, especially if your property is geographically advantaged. So if that's your thing, being central to a lot of activities, a lot of market amenities, TripAdvisor could be a great way for you to leverage your advantage location in that type of market. And then lastly, we have Google Hotel Ads. They're the current king of Metasearch. They dominate in terms of impression share and therefore reservation volume. But that also means a lot of competition. So far away, they're the most prominent for bottom of funnel direct bookings, and they offer the most tools for campaign management and strategic optimization. But again, a lot of competition there. So you really need to focus on your presence, work to utilize all these optimization techniques we've talked about. But that also means it makes sense to explore these other lesser known channels just because there's less competition. As a takeaway, it's best to really participate in a variety of these channels, continually monitor the performance and see which channel works best for your market and property. So it's important to work with whoever's providing your Metasearch advertising to understand which channels are producing for you. So if you're not receiving that reporting now, talk to your Metasearch advertising partner, be it your booking engine or a hotel tech company, and make sure you have that channel specific reporting, because you may find that a certain channel performs better for you than you were expecting. That actually concludes our presentation today. Thank you so much for listening. Again, quick plug, Metadesk is our new product that helps you connect the Metasearch channel. It's completely managed Metasearch advertising. A few points: we provide on-demand reporting and insights. It's an easy-to-use platform. There's no out-of-pocket expense when you sign up. We just charge a commission percentage on booked revenue. We have a fair pricing model we think you'll find interesting. So visit metadesk.pro to learn more about that. And because it's a new product this year, we're currently offering guided onboarding and setup with our customer success manager. So very easy to sign up, get up and running. And we do offer all the campaign optimization techniques shown in this presentation. And with that, I think we can kind of kick it over to questions. Let's see if we still have Rory and Chris here.
Yes,
if anyone has questions, you can. What's that? Oh, if you have questions, you can either raise your hand. We can allow you to talk on audio, I think, or you can submit a question to the Q&A, and we can read it via chat. Just give it a few minutes to see if anybody has questions there.
Thanks,
While we're
Kenyon.
waiting for any questions to come in, I think it's important to point out, all in the effort of trying to shift share from, bookings from the OTAs, Booking.com and Expedia being the two giants out there, to direct bookings for the reasons Kenyon mentioned earlier, in terms of one, lower cost to have the bookings come directly through your hotel website as opposed to the OTA, and then that very all-important first-party data, having them be your customer as opposed to Expedia or Booking.com's customer. I think it's important to point out that the major OTAs are receiving about 1/3 of all their billions of dollars worth of bookings on an annualized basis are originating from Metasearch. So it really has become, Metasearch has become the primary battleground to win those direct bookings over the OTAs.
Cool. We have a question. Thanks, Rishi. Thanks for the demo. We'll digest. So you more than welcome, Rishi, and all attendees to drop us a note, HTI, or would you be happy, Kenyon and Chris, if I send your details off to all participants anyway?
Yeah, that'd be great. We also have some follow-up materials we can kind of distribute to your to all the attendees. A report that kind of gives them some additional insight on Metasearch, and of course, our contact info would be great.
Yeah.
Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We can take a look at your property's current situation and help provide some recommendations for you as well.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Kenyon. I think you mentioned earlier that clients can contact you for a demo, as you mentioned here as well. And also we may follow this up in about a month's time with another more in-depth Metasearch specific webinar, if if need be and if possible. But yeah, that was very interesting. Like I said, I've never seen Metadesk. It's looking fantastic, and it gives us a lot of power on the booking engine side, and obviously competing against OTAs is everybody's cup of tea at the moment. So yeah, I don't see any more questions, but thank you very much, Kenyon. That was very informative.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, Rory. Thank you, everyone, for your time this afternoon.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, as I said, anyone just drop us a question or a note tomorrow or during the week, and we'll follow it up with an expert response probably from GCommerce, not from HDI.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you, Rory. Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Roy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Cheers.
good rest of your day.